Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Secretary. I want to ask you just a question on the Title IX. I know that you are working on some new rules. Can you give us a progress report on that?
Sure. We are working on the new rules, and we're expecting next month that they are released in May. So I can't really get into specifics now, but at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure we have equal access, protect students against discrimination, and protect students against sexual violence.
Okay, thank you very much. The just another Title IX question. According to the research for the Women's Sports Foundation and the National Women's Law Center, girls of color have not benefited from Title IX the same way as white girls. And so Black girls face disadvantage both based on race and gender, and have lacked access to participation in school sports and other activities that are available to boys. Any comment on that? Any efforts that your department's going to make to remedy that?
Thank you for the question. You know, it's put in, Title IX was put in to ensure equal access, and we still have a ways to go. The question that I had before you asked the question was about the reporting that's done, the CRDC report. That helps us get information to ensure that regardless of race or place, students are getting a high quality education with equal access to extracurricular activities, to high level courses. And that's why we collect those data, to ensure that we're supporting districts, supporting states that are maybe inadvertently creating gaps in opportunities for students. This is our responsibility to make sure all students in the country have access. And looking at those data really makes us, it reinforces the important work that we're doing to collect those data, but more importantly, to provide support to our states and districts to make sure all students, regardless of race, socioeconomic status, have access to high quality learning and high quality after school activities.
So let me just do a follow-up, because I'm a big advocate for sports and children playing sports. It's not just fun, but they learn so much about themselves, about being part of a team. So this year marks the 50th anniversary of Title IX. Wow, that's unbelievable. And I know we have made a lot of progress. Still, I think there's research shows that the majority of high school administrators still don't know who their Title IX coordinator is, and that 83% of college coaches say they've never received formal Title IX training. So it's hard when people are ignorant of the law. Sometimes it makes it harder to enforce it, and maybe partial the reason why we still have this discrimination or lack of activities for especially for girls of color. Does your department have designated funding for training Title IX coordinators, and do you have any kind of plan of action on this effort?
Yes, thank you for that question. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Co-curricular activities, and I don't like to call them extracurricular because they're not extra, they're co-curricular activities, must be a part of the experience for our students. In fact, due to the American Rescue Plan, I put a challenge out there for every high school student to be connected in at least one co-curricular activity, whether it's theater, athletics, clubs. We should make sure that every student feels connected. And yes, the Department of Education, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary, have several events planned. We have had webinars. It's unfortunate, those data that you shared with me regarding the lack of understanding. We will be amplifying the importance of it, making sure that we can reverse those data that you shared. All athletic directors, all school leaders, all district leaders should make it very clear who the Title IX coordinator is, but more importantly, the purpose of Title IX and the importance of having access for all students.
Okay, so I agree with you on that latter point. So, but do you have plans to follow up to make sure that that happens?
Yes, we do.
You do. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I lost you off the screen. I don't know what happened to you, but I'll yield back. I do have another, I think, important question, but I'll yield back if we have another round. Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Well, the governor of Florida has decided to be the leader in the cultural war of extremism in our country. And I know Mr. Pocan talked to you about the situation with what he calls it, the Don't Say Gay law. But I want to talk to you about the woke bill. The woke bill is aimed at limiting how schools and colleges and businesses discuss race. It blocks any instruction that could hint at one race feeling guilt for past actions or that their race necessarily determines a person's status as a privilege or oppressed. Now, I want to just say I was at the Museum of African American History the other day, and if anyone who hasn't been there, I just urge you to go there. And the first exhibit that I saw was had all these slave ships and showed how human beings were packed in these horrible, awful conditions. And I have to say, I had very strong emotions, all kinds of emotions, whether it was sadness or guilt or whatever. And I just do not understand how. I mean, it seems to me that under Florida law now, children are not going to be able to be taught about slavery. One district recently canceled a workshop on the civil rights movement out of fear of violating the new law. And, what my constituents are asking me is, can the federal government do anything to intervene against this craziness, this horrible effort by the state of Florida to basically block teachers from telling the truth? Or have students having any emotional feeling when they hear the facts?
We, as a lifelong educator myself, I know the importance of making sure students feel engaged in learning. And while the Federal Department of Education doesn't have a role in curriculum, to me, it's really important as an educator, as a father, that our students are engaged and proactively introduced to the beautiful diversity that has made this country the most amazing experiment in the world. But that includes, our history, that includes parts that we're not proud of. I trust that.
I understand that I agree with you, but is there anything that the Office of Civil Rights can do about this effort in Florida?
What the Office for Civil Rights can do is thoroughly investigate any requests for investigations around lack of rights of students. And, I can't speak prematurely to that, but I will tell you, we do believe that students should have quality programming, and we are concerned with some of the policies that are less curriculum, more about division, more about bringing politics into the schools. I said at the onset, our schools should not be the place for culture wars. Our parents want our children to recover from what was missed during the pandemic, for the missed instruction. They want the mental health needs of their students cared for. They want all students to feel welcome. That's what our parents are asking for. We're not going to get distracted going into the culture wars, but I also encourage our state leaders and our local leaders to make sure that they're also in the conversations around what our students need. And I know that our educators and parents want the same thing for their kids. They want their children to learn in an environment that's inclusive, that's welcoming, and that teaches the truth.
Thank you. Yield back. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.